the stem and leaf. So now this is interesting because you might think, but we're not basically looking at that. We're just trying to classify information or to classify numbers in terms of what is a stem, what is a leaf. So that is where we want to start. It's another way of representing data. So we'll define what is a stem and we'll define what is a leaf. So to understand this better, we will start by defining a leaf before we define a stem. So normally in any given number, whether it has 2 digits, there's 3 digits, or it even has decimals, the last digit is always called the leaf. So the last digit will be called the leaf. Of course, I'll give some examples so that you can be able to see this. And then the remaining digit is always the stem. So the stem is the remaining digits. The remaining digits. So let's look at some examples. I'll start by writing a couple of examples that have 2 decimal places. So let's say we've got 10, we've got 20, we've got 34, and then we've got 57. So in order to determine the stem and leaf, you need to start with the last digit. So we are reading the digits from the left to the right, just like we read MR significant figures. So this means that in the number 10, the stem will be 1 and the leaf will be 0. So 1 is going to be the stem and 0 is going to be the leaf. Then for the second number, which is 20, 2 will be the stem and then 0 will be the leaf again. So by now, I'm sure you can guess the last 2. What would be the stem for 34? 3. And then what would be the leaf for 34?
4.
So 4 will be the leaf. And of course, in 57, the stem is
5.
5 is the stem. And then 7 is the leaf. Now, let's make another set of examples. In this case, I want to show 3 digits. So let's say we've got 231, and then we have 576, and then we have 784. So remember, you always start by looking at the last digit from the left. So the last digit will be the leaf, and then the remaining digits become the stem. So in this case, the leaf will be, or rather let me start with the stem, because I already know that the last digit in this case is what? In 231. Last digit is 1, which means the leaf is 1. So therefore the remaining, which is 23, will be the stem. So 23 is the stem. Therefore, in 576, the stem is what?
57.
57 is the stem. And then the leaf is?
6.
6 is the leaf. Lastly?
78.
78 is the stem, of course. And then 4 is the leaf. Okay. Now, the last set which I want to demonstrate, maybe let me erase the top part. When you have numbers now that have decimals, so how do we represent this? I will have a selection of numbers. Let's say we've got 1.7, we've got 1.2, we've got 32.7, we've got 47.3. Then again, let's say we have 7.1 and then 9.0. Then 38.2 and then 63.4. So in this case, you'll notice that in this case we've got a set of numbers that have 2 digits, but they are decimals. In this case, we've got numbers which are 3 digits and the last number is a decimal. So when you represent this, the stem for 1.7 will be 1. So this would be the stem. And then what do you think would be the leaf? So the leaf will be 0.7. You will not just write 7, but it will be 0.7. The reason is because this is a decimal. The leaf is after the decimal point. So in this case, the stem will be 1, and then the leaf will be 0.2. So this will be very important, especially when we show the stem and leaf growth. So now we're just identifying the numbers, in which case, which one is a stem, which one is a leaf. So the next one, the stem is 7, and then the leaf is 0.1. It's important to show the decimal point. So this one, sometimes this would just be written as 9, because 9.0 is the same as 9. But because of this arrangement of numbers, our stem will be identified as 9, and 0.0 will be a leaf. So how about this set of 4 numbers? What's the stem here? 32, exactly. And then the leaf? 0.7. In this case, 47. The leaf is 0.3. And here we have 38 as the stem. Then the leaf is 0.2. 63 is the stem, and then 0.4 is the leaf. Now, I'm sure now we are getting the idea as to how we identify numbers as stem and leaves. Now, what if we are given a particular data, random data? A case where we are just given random numbers, and you'll be asked to draw. Sometimes you can be asked to complete a stem and leaf plot, or just asked to draw.
What if they are numbered in 2 decimal places?
It's about the last 2.
The leaf?
Yes. So for instance, if you've got 1.32, 1 will be the stem, and then 0.32 will be the leaf. Yeah. But normally you are given cases where it's just 1 decimal place. Because that part becomes important, especially now we represent the information in a stem and leaf. So let's say we're given these values or these numbers. See now 1.0, 1.3, 1.2, 1.4, 1.0, 1.7, 1.8, and then 2, 2.4, 2.1, 2.6, 2.7, 2.6, 2.1, 1.4, 2.5, 3, 3.1, 3.1, 3.2. So let's start with this a simple illustration like this. So what you notice that these numbers are random. They are not given in order. And then you are asked to draw the stem and leaf plot for this information. Now, the first thing that I always advise learners to do, it is to arrange the numbers in ascending order. So you will recall that we did have a look at random data in statistics 1, where if the information is random, especially if you are given a few distribution of numbers, let's suppose find the median. You remember one of the rules is to arrange the numbers in order. So the reason you will have to arrange the numbers in order, it will help you to be able to classify all the numbers that have the same stem in one section. So if you look at these numbers, the first number is what? First smallest number, 1.0. So now we have to find out how many 1.0s do we have. So you can select in this column, we have another 1.0. Do we have any other 1.0?
No.
And then what's the next number that we should write in this arrangement?
1.2.
So 1.2, I am seeing 1 here, 1.2. Do we have another?
No.
Not likely. So moving on, 1.3. Any other?
No.
No. 1.4. I am seeing 1 here. There's another one there. 1.4. And next, do we have 1.5?
No.
1.6?
No.
1.7, I see one there. 1.7. And then 1.8. I see one there. Do we have another one? 1.8. 1.9. Then we have the 2. Now remember, this is the same as the 2.0. So you can write it as 2.0. Do we have another 2.0? None. Then 2.1. There's one there. There's another one there. 2.1 again. Do we have a 2.2?
No.
2.3?
No.
2.4. 2.4. 2.5. Yes. 2.6. Yes, there are 2 of them. 2.6. 2.6. 2.7. 2.8, another, 2.9, 3. Remember, 3 can be written as 3.0, then 3.1, 3.1, and 3.2. So in fact, if you are writing these numbers in ascending order, one of the reasons that it's important is what I've already said, the fact that it will help you to be able to put the numbers that have the same stem in one column, or rather in one row, when you're demonstrating this in a standard plot. The second point that makes the arrangement important, remember what I say now, those parameters esiwafunzile ukuthi basengakubuta nayo ukuthi find what the mode basengakubuta la baphinde bathi find the median, all those parameters that we looked at previously. Median basengakubuta mean. So it's important that you still remember all those parameters. Basengakubuta range, maybe let's also start with that one. Basengakubuta range, mode, median, mean. So maybe let's start calculating those. So remember, by definition, the range is the highest value minus the lowest value. So what's the highest value here?
2.2.
3.2. 3.2 minus 1.0. So this will give us 2.2. So 2.2 is our range. Then secondly, what is the mode? You find it interesting here. The mode is the variable that has the highest frequency. In other words, ngiyiphi inombolo levela kaningi kunato tonke la.
1.0 and 2.0.
1.0.
1.4.
Now notice this. Maybe let's highlight that. Banga to 1.0
By 2.
by 2. 1.4
By 2.
by 2.
Then
2.1
by 2.
by 2.
Then
2.6
by 2.
by 2 now.
Then 3.1
3.1 now by 2. So because we do not have any other value more than this, don't 4, rather 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they will become the mode. So you can always have more than one mode. But let's say the 2.6 the 3, while the rest number 2, then 2.6 would have been the mode. So that means the mode will be 1.0, 1.4, 2.1, 2.6, and 3.1. So this supports the point that we highlighted in one of our lessons on statistics, where we said the mode can be more than one value. Okay. Now the median. Now to find the median, there's a tip that I did show. If you need to first count how many numbers we have in total. Because once the total number is an even number, sitting two numbers of cancel. But once the number gives you an odd number, not the total, rather, but D20.
Yes.
So 1920, 20 is what type of number?
Even number.
So because 20 is an even number, crossing the number of the thing 2, it's number 10 and number 11. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. The two numbers in the middle, we're going to find the average of those. So basically just add the numbers, both of them, and divide by 2. That should give us the median. So 2.0 plus 2.1 is 4.1 divided by 2, which will give us 2.05. So this will be the median. Now, the mean, remember our mean should be closer to the median so that we are able to show that this is a correct distribution or it's an accurate calculation as well. Now remember, because these numbers are random, so the mean will be the sum of the numbers divided by the number of the given numbers. So please add the numbers, and then we shall divide them by 10, rather 20. What are you getting?
42.2.
2?
42.2. 40.1.
What's yours, and?
No, 40.1.
40.1. Okay, let's see. We can calculate both numbers. What will tell us which one is correct? It's the one which will be closer to 2.05. Ayan. Bumama then. What's yours as well?
21.1.
No, it can't be. Divide by 20.
Oh, 20.
Yes, divide by 20. It might be the correct one. 2.1. Yeah, so that means it's what? The total are 2. What's the sum?
The sum is 42.2.
42.2 divided by 20.
2.1.
Yes, 2.10. So this number is quite closer to that one. So it is the correct value. So that's how you check if your answer is correct, if the mean is closer to the median. Right, so the reason I was showing this is the importance of arranging the number in ascending order. So Nyaro, let's do what we actually wanted to do in terms of the stem and the plot. So the rules of a stem and leaf plot, there's something that learners like to do which is not correct. You should not confuse a stem and leaf plot with a table, because in as much as we are going to demarcate or divide this like that, this is not a table. So it's important to note that once what so it's no longer a stem and leaf plot. So what you do, you draw a horizontal line, and then because this is just for a single variable, you will notice that the vertical line is closer towards the left, so that the corner will divide it into two sections. So on the first section, you stem, then you write leaf. So the reason the column then will always be bigger than the column in stem is because one single stem can have numerous leaves, just like you will see now. So which means after you've divided it like this, so we have to move on the number of times. Now stems in ascending order now. So the first stem that you will realize that the stems are 1. So we have the stem 1. You will notice now sometimes on WhatsApp stems okay that corner, but I always like you to start with the first section 1 row at a time. So notice, because we have arranged the numbers in order, it will be easy to arrange, to write Lamali. So Lamali make sure. So all these numbers start with Bala. So we are pins and pins. So notice the 1.0. Chosen data, that's a 0.0. I mean not 0. 0.0. And then you leave some space with the toba need pins 1.0, 5.0. Not commas, you just leave a considerable amount of space, less enough to make the distinction between the numbers. So the next one for 1.2, so it's the same step. Share scala 0.2, share scala 0.3, 0.4, another 0.4, and then 0.7, then lastly 0.8. So this is how you represent. So a person or a statistician ufuna ukuthi nakafunza abone ukuthi this is 1.0, 1.0, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.4, 1.7, 1.8. So you always read it from the left to the right. So we finish with the numbers that have the stem of 1. Says here the second row now. Just color before. Notice Lama stems of Allah in ascending order now. So from 7 to order and easy to see. Okay, so the first number that we have now 2.0. So saying align and notice that 0.0 they should be aligned. So everything should be aligned. Then again 0.1. 2.1, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.6, 0.7. So again, a statistician should be able to see that these are the different numbers. Then moving on, we have finished all this, the leaves that have the stem 2, we move on to the last stem, which is 3. So 3.1. Oh yes, thank you. 0.0, 0.1. There are 2.1 and 0.2. So these are all the numbers represented in a stem and a plot. Now, some of the questions that normally come up in a case like this are, what if the number equal being 0.5 or 0.6? So lapho stem lapho bese ukubhala 0. Then ngale 6.5. Then sometimes the numbers are skipped because these numbers are orderly. Ukhange ukuthi sekude inombolo lene stems are 4, but sekune nombolo lene stems are 5, 6 or 7. If you like, you can write la orderly ubhale 4 but kube betere uthola. But base ubhala 5, then ubhala lama leaves akhona. So that one is also allowed. But it's good to ubhale in ascending order. Ungaqali njenga 3. Bese so we are 2 and pass. It's always good to write them in ascending order. But this is how you represent numbers in a stem and a plot. Now the next one, and this is the question now. The next one I want to show, remember we must scatter plots, we must scatter diagram, two variables. How to represent that in a stem and leaf. So I want to show that one now. So now I'll write some numbers. I will include tests tests to show the performance in 2 subjects. So let's say we've got math or mathematics, and then we've got English. So we've got these different marks, and we want to show their performance in a stem and a plot. So let's say in your first test, perhaps you get a 70, and in English you get a 30. The second test you get a 10, and a 45. You get a 60 in maths, a 90. You get a 32, and then a 60. You get a 15 and a 17. You get a 35, a 62, a 44, a 27, a 100, and then a 25. These are marks, and you are asked to represent this in a stem and leaf plot. So what you do in a case like this, you are still going to divide, but now because there will be a possibility whereby you've got maths and English having the same stem. So which is why your stem and leaf plot will be divided into 3 sections. So in the middle, you will write the stem. So in the middle, you have the stem, and then you can choose on your left, you can have mathematics, so the leaf for maths. So this would be the leaf for maths. And then on your right, you can have the leaf for English. So this is how you can divide or show the distinction between the two. And then again, you study your numbers so that you can be able to arrange in order. So you look at all the numbers. Do I have a stem of 1? Or do I have a stem of 0? So I don't have a stem of 0, but I do have a stem of 1 because I have 10% in mathematics. I have 17 also in English, which both have a stem of 1. Then again, do I have a stem of 2? Of course, I have a 25 in English, so which means this will qualify as a stem. Do I have any number that has the stem of 3? I do. 32, 35, 30. So the stem of 3. The stem of 4 again is also there. Do I have a 50 anywhere?
No.
I do not have. So I can just write the 5 even though I will not show it. Or even if you miss it, it doesn't matter. It's just to show that the order of the numbers are in this way. So, and then you have 6. I do have 6. Do I have a 7? I do not have.
7.
Oh, there is a 70. Do I have an 80? I don't have, but I'm just writing it. I have a 9. And then I do have 100, so which means there will be a 10 here. Now, this is where I have to show the distinction now. So that in this case, the way a statistician would read this, read from the middle, towards the left it's mathematics, towards the right it's English. So you can choose, starting with mathematics, you notice that I do have a 10%, so which means I will have a 5 in mathematics. I also have a 15, so I will have, I'll start with a 0, yes, start with a 0 for the 10, and then leave some space, write a 5. So when you read this is 10, 15. You read it from the right to the left for mathematics. So it's more like the Chinese, I guess they read from the right to the left. Then from the left to the right, we look for English. Do we have? Yes, 17. So we will have 7. That's 17. So we've covered all the numbers that have the stem 1. Now, let's go to the second one, which is 2. Do you have any number that the stems are 2? No, in mathematics, so we'll leave it blank. Then, in English, we have 25. So we will write a 5 now. So which means now Funzalo is 25. Move on to the stem of 3. With mathematics, we've got 32. That's the first. Notice with the still nada. In as much as you can have the same values, you still arrange them in ascending order. So I've got 2. Yes, 2 for 32.
Yeah.
Okay, for mathematics, yes, I do have a 2 down, which is the least. Do I have the next one? 35. So I will have a 5. And then I'm done with mathematics. Let's go for English. I've got a 30, so there is a 0 now.
And 37.
And, oh yes, 37. So I have a 7. Now, going to the next number, 4, the stem 4. In mathematics, I've got 44, so which means I will have a 4 now. That's the least. Do I have any other number? Nada. So, with English, I've got 45. So, 45. Then, do we have a 50?
No.
No. Do we have a 60 in mathematics?
Yes.
Yes. So mathematics 0. Then also in English we do have a 60. So 0. And then even a 62 in English, so a 2. And then 70 do we have?
Yes.
Yes, in mathematics, so 7, 0. And then, do we have a 70 in English? No. Do we have an 80? No. Do we have a 90? Yes, in English. So we've got a 9. So 90 and a 0 here. Then lastly, we have 100 in mathematics, so which means I will add another 0 here, so that we have 10, and 100. So this is how you would have your stem and leaf. Now notice in the values where we do not have any values, I just leave it, I just left it like that. Otherwise, even if you don't even include it, it will still not be a problem. I've only included it so that I show the order of the stems. So this is how we present a stem and leaf plot that includes the comparison or the relation of two variables. Otherwise, the rest of the questions that might come after you've drawn this, that has to do with calculation of the mean, the median, you do the same thing that we have done in our previous lessons of statistics. Otherwise, this is how you do stem and leaf plots. Unless there are any questions, otherwise we've come to the end of our lesson today. I will be bringing some more questions on this so that you can practice. Otherwise we're done. Cheers.